And so waking up this morning, you could just hear the branches snapping off of trees in some cases right outside our window in our alley. We had an enormous tree just fall down and block it. And so roadways are blocked, which also disrupts the ability for crews to get to places, whether they're snow plows or power crews. And then the trees are bringing down the power lines and the utility poles.
This is going to be a historic event. It has gotten us up to 230,000 outages yesterday. We're down to 175,000 now, so overnight restored 60,000 customers. We'll continue to make progress, but this event is still a weather event ongoing. The trees are still continuing to fall, which is causing issues with restoration and with more outages.
I am out here trying to help a friend who is stranded down the road here at her house. She's cold and with no power, so I'm trying to pick her up and get her out of here.
I'm hoping I'll have power by the end of the week. I pray for it today. It's a 100-year-old house, so it doesn't keep a lot of warmth. And I ran out my kerosene last night, so I won't be able to drive to the store today.
After the ice stopped, we now are going to have wind gusts and temperatures drop to critically low periods. So this really is a perfect winter storm that's challenging to deal with. Those very, very low temperatures arriving are going to make things increasingly difficult, especially with those large numbers of power outages.
Massive winter storm slammed much of the United States this weekend, impacting more than 35 states and becoming the most significant winter storm in nearly 5 years in some areas. From Texas to New England, the system brought a dangerous combination of heavy snow, catastrophic ice, power outages, and travel disruptions. On the storm's southern edge, significant ice accumulation snapped trees and power lines, leaving more than 1 million customers without power, especially across Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Tennessee. Icy roads and bridges made travel hazardous and slowed emergency response efforts. The storm also turned severe in some spots, with a possible tornado damaging homes in the Florida Panhandle. Further north, the Midwest and Northeast were buried under heavy snow, with many locations seeing more than a foot, and parts of 7 states between New Mexico and Massachusetts received more than 18 inches in spots. Snow lingered into the mid-Atlantic and New England, extending dangerous travel conditions. The storm is to blame for several deaths from the south to the northeast in the coldest temperatures of the season. In Bangor, Maine, a private jet crashed during takeoff amid intensifying snowfall, an incident now under investigation. Air travel was heavily impacted, with more than 23,000 flight cancellations nationwide, and the danger isn't over. Bitter Arctic air is now moving in, keeping AccuWeather real fuel temperatures below zero in some areas into next week, increasing the risk of dangerous cold exposure, especially for those still without power.
Many areas here are dealing with some Arctic cold and just reinforcing blasts of this kind of coming in waves throughout the course of the week. Current temps, look at this. We are below zero already in parts of Indiana and just north of Dayton, Ohio. We're at 10 in St. Louis and Louisville, 7 in Chicago, 23 New York, but down into Jackson, Mississippi, again, our concern is north of Jackson, a big stripe of those outages where we have really cold air locked in. Waves of Arctic chill, a true danger for anybody who's unable to really take maybe matters into their own hands sometimes. There are people who don't have the same mobility as you may, and they may be right down the road from you. So make sure you're looking out for your neighbors here, whether you have power or not. If you have any sense that some of your neighbors may not have electricity and they may not have the means to get themselves to a safe place, it's going to be really cold. And the 40s that you experience for highs tomorrow are not going to be enough to warm things up to a stable and safe place, because we're going to be way cold again tomorrow night with temps down below freezing, 15 to 30 degrees below the historical averages for this time of the year. not just the frozen pipes, but again, the true danger to human life and health with this kind of cold. In Nashville, for example, we're going to be down to 5 tonight. There are a lot of areas in the Nashville metro, especially kind of hedging north and west of the city. There's Nashville itself right there, where we have many outages. So when you're down to 5 degrees, there are a lot of things that can go wrong. Sometimes people use unsafe methods to heat their home. And in other cases, again, carbon monoxide poisoning is a very dangerous thing. If you have a generator, you got to keep that thing outside. Don't run it in the garage. Make sure the fumes don't re-enter your home. It's going to be just persistently cold. 36 degrees. Yeah, it looks nice with the sun shining tomorrow, but that's just 4 degrees above freezing just for a few hours of the day. You're right back down below freezing then. And if you're north of Nashville, in the heart of this deep blue zone, you will not climb above freezing probably until February. So waves of cold continue here, exceptionally cold air off and on through the rest of this week. And again, a really significant blast of cold and Arctic air on Tuesday. Just wanted to close with a quick look at Wednesday as well. It's not going anywhere. Waves of cold hold on across the south and the east, with many outages continuing.
This is what we're talking about when we say that northern states just have more resources to deal with the snow compared to states in the south. I mean, we have all lanes covered by plows in that video there. Now, I do want to talk about where we stand with the impacts from this storm. Already, we have a preliminary estimate, 100 $5 to $115 billion in damage and economic loss from this storm. And again, it's a preliminary estimate. As we get more information about damage from the storm, this number will likely go up, but the impacts stretch more than 24 states, 200 million people, and 200 million people without power at one point yesterday. Now, the power outages persist for much of the South, unfortunately, today, and it's all because of this, the freezing rain reports. And those of you who don't have the power outages, or at least not as many, states like Arkansas and Texas, it's because you had more sleet compared to freezing rain. I know it's confusing. Ice is ice, but sleet, it doesn't cling to the power lines. It doesn't accumulate on tree branches and lead to them breaking the way freezing rain does. So yes, it still creates slick spots on the roads, but it doesn't quite create the damage that we see from freezing rain. And when we talk about freezing rain, any total more than half an inch is going to lead to widespread impacts. All of our top freezing rain reports are an inch, from Mississippi to Alabama, even South Carolina and Louisiana, though Mississippi and Tennessee, I think by far got the worst of the damage. Again, some of you've had some tree branches break, some power outages in states like Louisiana into the Carolinas. However, Tennessee, Mississippi, it's because of that total, like I said, that you have seen the impacts that you have seen. This is the area we're concerned these power outages stretch at least into tomorrow, if not even into Wednesday, because of the severity of the freezing rain and the temperatures like Jeff was talking about.
People making some great memories there, making memories in the big cities of the Northeast here after a hard hit, biggest winter storm in years